first is the retconning of the reason Krypton, Superman's planet, was destroyed. The story up until 2018 was Krypton's core ran out of energy, or the sun close to it collapsed on itself, causing the planet to go down with it. It's a nice commentary on how we should pay attention to the signs nature gives us. It's a really simple, easy, iconic character origin story. The people love it. Then 2018 rolls around and DC decides to change it. The idea of an advanced race ignoring the fall of its own planet despite a small few trying to warn them, well, now that doesn't relate to the human race at all, so let's retcon it and make the destruction of the planet due to a big monster instead of the fault of its own dominant species. That will surely resonate with people. So they brought in Rogol Zaar. This monster was created by Jor-El with the intention to destroy Krypton. The monster believed that Krypton and its people were a threat to the universe, so they had to go. Zaar was introduced and battled Superman and Supergirl quite a bit, but many readers say that the fights and the monster character just weren't that compelling. In the end, he did just end up in permanent stasis, so other than being the reason Clark's planet exploded, his impact was small. The characters seemed to have a lot of potential that was never fully realized. Overall, many DC fans give the whole thing a double thumbs down and agree that the character was an odd addition at best, embarrassing at worst. And let's look at the strangest era for comics, the 90s, responsible for Iron Man's villain era, among other odd things, of course. In the Avengers The Crossing issues, we find out that Tony Stark has been under the control of Kang the Conqueror for years. Not just like the past little bit, but long enough that it makes you question everything. Tony, while under Kang's control, had been slowly working at deteriorating the lives of the Avengers. He was the reason the Wasp's finances were destroyed. He also eliminated Quicksilver's nanny. Unfortunately for the Avengers, Iron Man is so evil, the only person who could defeat him is him. So the Avengers do the reasonable thing and travel back in time to get a not yet corrupted teen Tony. They chose a teen to be safe because who knows how long Tony had been mind controlled for. Teen Tony worked out because evil Tony realized the error of his ways and sacrificed himself to save the day. That leaves young Tony as the only Tony for a little while. To top this thrilling saga off, the whole Kang controlling thing was also retconned. It wasn't Kang, it was Immortus, who is actually technically Kang, just mature Kang. Snowflame is a controversial DC character that initially was thought to be destroyed after a fight with the New Guardians, but was so funny he was retcon revived. Snowflame is controversial because he is a villain that activates his powers using the kind of snow that one might use their nose as a means to ingest. Some people love him, some people hate him, some people wanted to see him flame again, others were okay letting him be extinguished. This retcon is, in comparison to the others on this list, simple. All that happens is a questionable character is brought back to life. I'm not Snowflame's biggest fan personally, but I can't deny that he is funny. His latest demise via death via snorting a poison dart frog is definitely the strangest thing I've seen, and we'll have to see if that will also result in a retcon revival. Nightcrawler's family tree is just a full-on Willow at this point with all the parents he has. As it stands now, his father is Mystique, his mother is Destiny, his fake dad is Azazel, and his deceased stepdad is Baron Wagner. Even though Nightcrawler was always supposed to be Mystique and Destiny's child, when you throw in all the previous lore, it just makes everything confusing and leads to a lot of Marvel fans disliking the retcon. The bare bones of the story go as follows. Mystique was married to Baron Wagner, had an affair with Azazel, and had their baby, raising Nightcrawler as if he were the Baron's son. So everyone for a long time was under the impression that Nightcrawler was the son of Mystique and Azazel. Turns out that's wrong, but also right. Mystique did have an affair with Azazel. It's actually very important that she did. Mystique, though, was really in love with Destiny the whole time, and they wanted a child. Mystique, because she is a gene shaper shapeshifter, she used Azazel as the base to mimic all the stuff she would need to be the father. That's why she needed to know Azazel intimately. Plus, Azazel wants to destroy humanity and the Earth. What villain doesn't? Destiny had a vision that this would happen should Azazel not have a tether to the Earth. So by making him think think he was Nightcrawler's father, he would have a connection to the very thing he wanted to destroy, which would hopefully make him want to destroy it less. Destiny's vision is also the reason why Nightcrawler was abandoned, and to keep everything on track, Mystique shapeshifted a fake pregnancy belly and then had her memory erased afterwards. Somehow, this was the simplest solution to their problem. But again, this was always supposed to happen. Established X-Men writer Chris Claremont wanted to introduce the concept a long time ago, the world just wasn't ready yet. And welcome back to Tony Stark is suffering again. No matter which universe you look at, Iron Man is suffering, and that's just the way of the worlds. Tony finds out he was adopted. He is not really Howard Stark's son. Not that Howard put in the work to make him feel like his son anyway. Still, it would be quite a shock to receive that info. This retcon, I guess, makes sense in that it explains why Howard was such a horrible parent to Tony, but also some fans think it just wasn't necessary. It leaves people wondering just why it happened in the first place. We, and Tony, learned this shocking news in 2012's Iron Man 17. The Starks were planning on having a kid, only their kid didn't feel too good, and the only way to save this child was help from Alien 451. The alien helped get Arno Stark to term, but modified him in the process to one day wield the universe's most powerful suit of armor. Sound familiar? Arno was born, but Howard had done some modifying of his own that made the baby's health decline again. The Starks were worried about the alien's reaction should they find out what Howard did, so they needed a cover. Enter Tony. It makes Tony's story so much sadder than it already is. He was literally just being adopted into a family, not to be loved, but to be a decoy that is forced to live up to unattainable standards for his entire life. Eventually, Tony met Alien 451 and tried and failed to pilot the armor. When he got back down to Earth, he looked into why he couldn't do it and found a tape in which Howard explained everything. Rough time. Wolverine is a magnet for retcons, not all of them winners, like for example, the Silver Fox debacle. Silver Fox was Wolverine's girlfriend. We met her for the first time in Wolverine 10. She was a sweet character, good for Wolverine, he really loved her. She unfortunately met her demise at the claws of Sabretooth. And this encounter is a large reason as to why Sabretooth and Wolverine hate each other. So it had a pretty big impact on Wolverine's life, but it was about to get even messier because Wolverine Volume 2 rolls out, and surprise, Silver Fox is retcon revived and she is now a Hydra agent. Apparently, the memories Wolverine had of her were fake, and the setting in which they lived, their cabin, was also fake. That did a number on Wolverine for nothing because it was later retconned again in House of M. Wolverine regains his real memories of the real Silver Fox, who is likely still deceased. The Hydra Silver Fox was either an impersonator or a clone or something. I feel like Wolverine should just permanently have an asterisk next to his name that just reads subject to change because he has more retcons than should be legally allowed. The passing of Martha and Thomas Wayne is one of, if not the most important moment in Batman's Bat career, which means it's been messed with more times than it should be. It usually keeps the general idea consistent. Bruce is out with his parents late at night, they meet a sketchy guy, the parents don't make it, and Bruce watches it happen. The everything else is subject to change. Who is the bad guy here? We don't know, and Bruce will never find out, which is why he's focused on fighting crime all over the city instead of simply hunting down one man. Wait, okay, it was actually Joe Chill, and it was totally random. Actually, scratch that, it's still Joe Chill, but he was hired to do it by a mob boss, so now Batman has a target. Wait, we're gonna change it again. This is really a part of a big conspiracy that Batman has to uncover. Okay, now we're going to keep pieces of this, but instead of both parents being hit with a bullet, it's just his dad was hit, and his mom suffered a heart attack from seeing it. Point is, it's messy. Plenty of fans agree that the first story is probably the best story. It made Bruce's story interesting, explained some of his behaviors, and as someone pointed out, the line from Batman Begins perfectly describes the tragedy of the incident. Bruce's parents were taken down by one of the very people they were trying to help, showcasing that Gotham was decaying along with his citizens. This next retcon was so bad, Stan Lee himself stopped it from ever being fully realized. I am talking about that time they almost established that Wolverine wasn't a mutant, but instead was once an actual Wolverine mutated by the High Evolutionary. This retcon was being set up in X-Men 98, the issue where Wolverine was seen without his mask for the first time and where it was revealed his claws were part of his body. In it, the X-Men are having their DNA analyzed or something like that, and one of the scientists remarks to their leader, "Is this Wolverine a mutant? His readings are nothing like the others." The people who worked on this comic later confirmed that this was their way of trying to set up Wolverine Wolverine. Thankfully, the Marvel icon Stan Lee put a stop to this before anything permanent happened. Apparently, according to Dave Cockrum, Stan Lee found the concept disgusting. I hope that out there somewhere, or coming someday soon, is a what if story about what if Wolverine was actually a Wolverine, but let's keep that out of the main canon. Yet another love it or hate it retcon extravaganza is Superboy's Ret-Con Punch and everything it caused. To put it in the simplest terms possible, Superboy was residing in a pocket dimension at the time and wasn't happy with the dark parts of the main DC, so he punched a wall. But it wasn't just any wall, it was the source wall. The punch created time ripples that messed with a bunch of heroes' stories and rewrote a bunch of stuff. It wasn't a good time for anyone involved, and also the reason for such major rewrites happening is just plain and simple funny. It's objectively funny that Superboy punched a wall and caused serious ripples in the DC space-time continuum. Though the punch made a lot of weird things happen, it did bring back Jason Todd, and for that I do thank Superboy Prime. And finally, Franklin Richards' mutant status is a touchy subject right now, and it has been since it was revealed the kid wasn't actually a mutant like we had been led to believe. Franklin Richards is the son of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. He was thought to be a mutant and even got onto the exclusive mutant-only island, Krakoa, and made a bunch of friends. Only it later came out he wasn't a mutant at all, just a really powerful teenager. Franklin was accidentally making himself appear as a mutant, and when his powers got drained, he couldn't do that anymore, and that was when his non-mutant status was discovered. This retcon is frustrating, not just for fans, but also the character, because there was so much, now unnecessary, fighting that happened to get Franklin onto Krakoa. Mr. Fantastic did some things that severely damaged his relationship with Franklin, like initially preventing him from going to Krakoa by masking his X gene, which in the process, the X-Men and Fantastic Four destroy Washington Square Park, and now none of that matters. Plus, Franklin made all those friends on Krakoa, and now he can't even go back to see them. This is hard enough to keep up with as an outsider. Imagine this being your teenage years. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and make your mark on the comment section down below. Let us know your opinions on these controversial nerd topics. This is Juliana signing off. Bye!